Greetings, friends. My name is Pavel Shteremach, and now we will dive into the top news of this day. The European Court of Human Rights rejected the claim of Russia against Ukraine, dated July 22, 2021. Russia submitted an international complaint on 10 groups of accusations, accusing Ukraine of the deaths of civilians in 2014, the MH17 disaster, shelling of Russian territories, and discrimination against the Russian-speaking population. So as we can see, as for now, Ukraine doesn't and will not kill civilians, because it is our citizens too. But since Russia's full-scale invasion, 9,083 civilians were killed, according to UN report. The real number we can't know due to occupation of our territory, but we saw mass graves in Bucha, Irpin, and Izum, and certainly can assume that we will see the same picture in liberated Melitopol, Berdyansk, and Mariupol. Also, the Russian Federation asked to apply the 39th rule regarding the supply of water to Crimea, obliging Ukraine to restore water supply. And now Russians blew the Kakhovka Dam, and Dnipro River will not go to Crimea for a very long time. Russia is trying to use the tools of international justice for propaganda and to divert attention from its own crimes that is committed during the aggression against Ukraine.
The Russian invasion deprived all of Ukraine's 7.5 million children of their normal lives. Almost two-thirds of them have been internally or externally displaced. Russia has killed at least 494 Ukrainian children and injured 1,052 more. At least 379 have gone missing during hostilities. Right as we speak, Russia continues the mass abduction and deportation of Ukrainian children, a disgusting, heinous, and genocidal crime for which Putin and his Children's Rights Commissioner are already wanted by the International Criminal Court.
Russian claims against Ukraine expressed in the statement of the European Court of Human Rights in 2021 are unfounded, unsubstantiated, and improperly documented. Russia terminated any cooperation with the European Court of Human Rights back in March 2022 and ceased to be a member of the Council of Europe and denounced the Convention of Human Rights. The withdrawal of Russia from the Council of Europe at the same time does not mean the cancellation of its responsibility in the context of cases brought against it by the European Court of Human Rights. Currently, the court is considering 4 cases of Ukraine against Russia related to the occupation, seizure of sailors in the Kerch Strait, and murders of opponents of the current Russian authorities. President of the Republic of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, said that Russia threatened war in the event of Putin's arrest at the BRICS summit. The arrest warrant for Putin in the case of illegal deportation and transfer of children from the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine to Russia, issued by the International Criminal Court, is a powerful global signal to the society, which points to the real culprit in the war. As a party to the Rome Statute, South Africa has an obligation to the ICC to arrest Putin if he appears on the territory, in particular if Putin arrives at the BRICS summit in August 2023. The threat of war in South Africa is another violation of international law and the principles of civilized coexistence in the world by Russia. Blackmail also demonstrates the true attitude of Russia to South Africa and other countries of the continent. It threatens them as vassals, not partners. The Kremlin is physically unable to implement its threats against South Africa because Russia's army is here in Ukraine. It's lost its strength in the aggression against us, so there is no reason to be afraid of blackmail. But also through its African policy, Moscow seeks to overcome the international isolation in which Russia found itself due to aggression against Ukraine. In communicating with Africa, Russia appeals to anti-colonialism, although it itself is a colonial empire that brutally suppresses the national movements on its territory. Moscow condemns Western imperialism, although it is waging an imperialist war against Ukraine, seeking to destroy the neighboring country and seize our resources. Outwardly manipulating the slogans of internationalism, Russia is a deeply xenophobic country in which attacks on non-white citizens and foreigners are widespread. Racist rhetoric is openly allowed. Russia is leading neocolonial expansion in Africa too, using Wagner mercenaries to impose undemocratic regimes and exploit the natural wealth of African peoples. In the name of its aggressive goals, Russia seeks to destroy the world order based on the principles of the UN, which has made African countries full members of the international community. President of the UN General Assembly Csaba Kőrösi said that the UN Security Council failed to adopt any resolution related to Russia's war against Ukraine. Most countries around the world are aware of the Kremlin's responsibility for the unprovoked and illegal aggression against Ukraine. This is evident from the regular adoption of relevant resolutions by the UN General Assembly, in which decisions are taken by a simple majority of votes. At the same time, the UN Security Council is virtually ineffective, since the aggressor state in it has the right to veto decisions. The current international security architecture has proven unprepared for the challenge of Russian aggression against Ukraine, despite the fact that this war jeopardizes the prospects of a sustainable future for humanity and the planet itself. The mechanisms for implementing the principles of international security need to be improved to meet the challenges and requirements of the time. Russia holds the seat of a UN member and a permanent member of the UN Security Council illegally, since it is the seat of the former USSR. I will remind you that during the G7 summit, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated that the UN Security Council did not fulfill its main functions, for which it had been created in 1945. The flaw of this system of international security is that a state that doesn't consider international law has emergency powers within the UN Security Council and has unleashed the largest war in Europe since 1945. Russia should be expelled from the UN, and its accession to the organization should be considered according to the appropriate procedure. The statement of the UN Secretary General testifies to the awareness of the problems that Kyiv has long been declaring at the highest level. Perhaps it is this war that will lead to the restructuring of the global security architecture, turning it into a more modern and effective one. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching and stay updated. Subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support is that really matters. Goodbye.